Welcome to the SEO.co Search Engine Optimization Podcast. Digital marketing essentials and next-level tactics. From off-site and on-site optimization to persuasive selling and everything in between. You'll learn actionable tips on what it takes to outright and outrank your competition.
Reading hex color codes. Understanding the RGB system is important to move on to hex codes using a simple formula. Any value between 1 and 9 is stated numerically, but letters are used instead of 10 or above. For instance, A equals 10, B equals 11, etc. To calculate the hex number, you can follow the steps below. First, multiply the first number or letter by 16. Second, multiply the second number or letter by 1. Finally, get a value by adding the two totals. For instance, the number 83 has a hex value of 131. You can use this concept in the case of letters too. For instance, FF equals 225 as 15 represents the letter F that you multiply by 16 and 1, since there are two Fs, and then add the two results together to get 255. Note that 255 represents the bright red of the RGB value 255. Difference between hex codes and RGB. Programmers usually prefer hex codes due to their predictability factor. These codes always have 6 digits, regardless of the color, while RGB values can have numbers ranging between 3 and 9. It isn't necessary to create web designs with hex codes. To code an HTML page, you can also opt for RGB values and color names. You don't really need to worry about finding the correct RGB code or name for the color you want to use. It is best to use a color hex wheel converter or selector to reduce the chances of mistakes. This decreases the possibility of a developer messing up your website, as they try to do all the conversions themselves and turn a potentially good web page into a disaster. How to choose a color scheme. Whatever project you undertake, one of the best ways to choose the right colors is by using a color palette tool that lets you search by style, color, hex value, keyword, schemes based on trends. Such a tool also gives you the liberty to randomly pick colors and create your own scheme. Once you've selected the color palette you want to use, communicate it to your designers, or if you are the designer, get approval from your bosses. Here are a few color design tips you can follow before choosing a palette. 1. Look at the context. 2. Check the color wheel. 3. Pick a triadic, split complementary, or monochromatic color scheme. 4. Don't just stick to the presets. If the color selection needs to be tweaked, go back to the color tool and play with it until you find more shades that fit. And then get to work on your project. These hex codes can be used in paid tools like Photoshop and free design apps like Canva. Make collages, create shapes, make a gradient, check color contrasts and fix their brightness, saturation, temperature, and hue until you achieve perfection. Remember to document the hex codes used. In fact, make them a part of your brand book or style guide, so you never have to worry about finding them again. Conclusion. To sum it up, it is essential to remember that the hex colors can be handy for designing your digital assets. They are easier to use than the RGB codes due to their set 6 character values. Furthermore, you can generate codes for any color and control its opacity and intensity to match your brand's color scheme perfectly. Since it is essential to be consistent in the colors representing your brand, you must understand what the hex codes mean. All in all, hex codes can save your time when you don't want to meddle with more complicated color combinations that include cyan, magenta, etc., and RGB is good enough.
Thank you for joining us on the SEO.co podcast. We appreciate your time. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show and visit SEO.co for more resources based on today's topic, as well as access to more podcast episodes to help you improve your site's long-term SEO success.